This is going to be a rambling. Um, it's going to be a rambling about different topics, you know, and I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it so real. And first things first, I remember when people say that, I'm not, the Bible states that, people in the future, like right now per se, or later on, they're going to be lovers of pleasure, lovers of flesh, instead of being lovers of God. And I said to myself, of course they're going to be lovers of self. Of course they're going to be lovers of pleasure in the flesh. Because for what I've witnessed, God has abandoned us. So the people, or should I say humans, like myself and others, have no other choice but to love themselves. They have no other choice but to watch their own backs. Because they realize that in this world, you only have yourself. You have to watch your own back. You have to do things for yourself. I mean, don't get me wrong. Philosophers of the past did say some awesome things, like, for example, know thyself and do for self. That's very important. But this whole thing about how, God is this and God is that, and, for what I realized that, God is not here with us, God has abandoned us, or whatever, we might as well do for self. We might as well enjoy the pleasures of life. We might as well enjoy the flesh because God is not here to protect us, so we're on our own. So we got to do what we got to do to survive. So, it just is what it is. We have no other choice. And, and also when it comes to the people, when it comes to these teenagers out here, like, for example, in Chicago, well, mostly in Chicago, of course, other cities all across America, how they just running amok, how they just tearing up stores and different properties in their small towns and their cities and all that stuff. It just lets me know that parents are not being accountable for their children. And we need to take heed of that. And in my honest opinion, if this persists, I'm letting you know right now, martial law is going to be coming to a town near you. I say it again. If this persists, the destruction of people's properties, the destruction of stores, I'm letting you know right now, martial law is going to be in effect in the near future. So people, be prepared. Just be prepared. Whatever you have to do, just be prepared for martial law, because it's going to get ugly. It's going to get real ugly. The things of the past that we had enjoyed are going to be obsolete because of our actions, our decisions, and our behaviors. We're going to pay for it. But going back to the whole God concept, I don't think that, I think that I think deep down God is real, but not the way on how they taught us in these religious institutions. What I mean is that God is not looking down on God is not looking down upon us, judging us based on our sins. Because all that we do, all that we are, depends, or no, because all that we do, all that we are, begins and ends with ourselves. God is not looking down on us, if we're going to commit sins or not, man. Because everything that we do begins and ends with ourselves. Nothing more, nothing less. Whether because being good and being bad, that's all subjective. That is all subjective. Because think about it. When it comes to the elite, when it comes to the people that rules this world, from their viewpoint, from their mindsets, what they do to the people, they think that it's a good thing. But from regular people's eyes, like, just regular people like myself included, what they doing to us is bad for us. But from their viewpoint, it's good. It's the betterment for the whole for all humans on Earth. So being good and being bad is all subjective, man. Because the elites, what they do in their minds, they think they're right, but what we think about what they be doing, we think that is wrong, and vice versa. So it's all subjective. The point is, what I'm trying to say is that in the end, if we keep this up, my worst fears might come true. The planet that we're on right now, planet Earth, will cease to exist. And what I mean by cease to exist, the planet Earth itself will no longer sustain life, because we as humans, we're very arrogant, we're very ego driven, we're very narcissistic, and we're so full of violence. And with those things, with those very same things that I just named, the planet Earth and we as Earthlings, as we know it, are going to be deleted. We're going to be obsolete. We're going to become extinct. Man, listen, humanity's arrogance is going to be their major downfall. Humans' arrogance, we're going to be their down. No, it really is going to be our downfall, because we was never taught to face our inner demons. We was never taught to know thyself and do for self. We was never taught to control our sins and vices and all that stuff, man. We was never taught to do those things. The only thing that we was taught coming up as a child, into a teenager, into a young adult, we was taught to become good workers by their standpoints, by their standards in human society. We was taught, for the most part, to become good workers for their factories and for their companies and for their corporations. That's about it. We was taught to be workers. But when it comes to self-actualization, not so much. That's why you see a lot of NPCs, a lot of, clones, and not clones, but you see a lot of NPCs, a lot of people who likes to follow the leader per se. We're nothing but sheep, man. We as humans, we're nothing but sheeps headed to the slaughterhouse, because we don't have a brain, because we don't think for ourselves. That's the sad part about it, man. A lot of humans are afraid to think for themselves, because once they start to think for themselves, they won't be a part of the so-called human experience on this planet, the so-called false human experience that we're living in right now. We don't want to, we'll be alienated from our peers because we don't follow this so-called social norm that's here right now on planet Earth. I don't follow the social norms like that. I really don't. I would rather just do my own thing and just be by myself, because humans hate me. I realize, so-called my so-called family, my so-called friends, and all these silly ass strangers that's around me. A lot of these motherfuckers, man, they don't like me, and I don't care. I don't give a damn, because I want to live my life how I want to live it. It's so sad that we as humans, we don't respect other people's way of living, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. And that that's another reason why I tend to stay to myself, because it's the respect factor. It's like, if I'm like everybody else, I get the respect. But since I want to do things that I want to do, be to myself, stay to myself, trust nobody, and know thyself and do for self, I'm labeled as an outcast. Because I want to know who I am. For the most part, really for the most part, I want to know who I am. I want to know thyself and do for self. But since I do those things, know thyself and do for self, for the most part, I get alienated. I become an outcast. It's not, in this world, it's not good to be unique. It's not good to be an independent thinker. It's not good to, strive to do better for yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's not always about, don't get me wrong, man. Individualism is bad to some degree, But at the same time, it is good because you know who you are. You know who you are from the inside out, man, because once you embrace individualism to some degree, well, for the most part, you begin to, how can I say, not just know who you are, but you begin to have self-esteem about yourself. You begin to love yourself, man. Not from a selfish standpoint, but from a standpoint of knowing that you know what you can and cannot do in this world. That's what I'm trying to say, man. It's all about knowing what you can and cannot do in this world. And that's the type of love that every single person on this planet should have within themselves. But overall, the way how things is looking, not just in America, but the whole world, martial law is coming, and we need to be prepared. Because the people, for the most part, regular people are not going to be prepared. It is going to be a sad, sad situation. But hey, to tell you the truth, we brought it upon ourselves. We really did. We basically dropped the ball, and all of this stuff that's happening right now, we did. We did it to ourselves, man. We actually did it to ourselves. We failed. Not only we failed ourselves, but we also failed the children, and we also failed the future generations that's going to come. So when it comes to people, man, these adults out here, man, if I was y'all, man, I'd rather get my shit together, man. I would try to get my shit together as much as possible and as quickly as possible because time is running out. The system that we live in right now is going to crumble. Time is running out. But that's all I got to say about that, man. Sure, that's all I got to say. Thank you so much and have a good day.